Hello and welcome to the Goldilocks Chair Company, where we're going to undertake the Poppa Bear Chair Assembly, brought to you by Epic Rehab, where we want to recognize and develop the value in each of us.
Okay, before we start the Poppa chair, I want you to be sure that your client has laid down all of the parts onto the parts mat properly, because we have some tubes that are very similar. A and B are very similar in size and length, so be sure that that's correct. Tubes E and C are also very similar in length, so make sure that they have those correct as well. Tubes F, G, and H are the ones with holes. Make sure that the holes match up with the holes on the parts mat, because this will help when you start assembling the chair. And now for step 1, we're going to insert the 4 part 1 fittings onto the A tubes. Our A tubes. And now for step 2, we're going to insert the 4 B tubes into the part 1 fitting openings. Now for step 3, we're going to attach 4 of the part 2 fittings to the 4 B tubes. And the middle opening of the T's should be perpendicular with the B tubes. Just like that. And now for step 4, we're going to connect the 2 sub-assemblies by inserting the G tube into the 2 part 2 fittings. And when you do this, be sure that the 4 holes are facing up and that the 5 holes are facing horizontal towards the front of the chair. Now for step 5, we're going to insert the F tube into the other 2 part 2 fittings. And again, be sure that you have the 5 holes facing towards the other 5 holes. Just like that. Now for step 6, we're going to insert the 2 C tubes onto the part 2 fittings above tube G. Now for step 7, we're going to connect the last 2 part 2 fittings above the C tubes. And be sure that the middle opening is facing the front of the chair. Now for step 8, we're going to attach the 2D, the short section, to the type 2 fittings attached to tube F, and the long side of it attached to the type 2 fittings on tube C. We're going to do the same thing with the other side. These are the arms of the chair. Now for step 9, we're going to insert the E tubes into the part 2 fittings which are attached to tube D. Now for step 10, we're going to attach our only part 3 fittings on top of the 2 E's. Now for step 11, we're going to insert our C tubes into the part 3 fittings. And for step 12, we're going to attach the remaining part 1 fittings to the C tubes. When we do this, we're going to have to twist the openings so that they're facing each other. Like that. Now for step 13, we're going to connect tube H to the open part 1 fittings. Make sure that the 4 holes are facing down towards the other 4 holes. Now for step 14, we're going to insert 4 J spindles into the 4 holes on the G tube. Now for step 15, we're going to align the 4 J spindles so that they fit into the G tube and the H tube with a good seal. Now this is going to help to loosen the H tube like this to easier get the spindles in the holes. Now for step 15, we're going to align the J spindles so that they fit into the G tube and the H tube with a good seal. Now to make this easier, it would be better to loosen the H tube, just like that, so you can easier fit the spindles into the holes. Now for step 16, we're going to insert the I spindles into the 5 holes on the G tube. Now for step 17, we're going to align the 5 I spindles so that they will fit into the G tube and the F tube with a good seal. Now again, it might help to loosen one side, just like that, to easier get the spindles into the holes. Now that you've assembled your chair, just be sure to cross-check it with the pre-assembled chair and be sure that everything is where it's supposed to be.